G'day everyone, welcome back. So this is in response to a viewer's question. They wanted to know, Kezza, how do I remount my large chord bowls once I'm ready to go and second turn them? So there's a few things that I want to go over before I get into the three different methods that I believe are the safest methods to use. You have to have a cup center in your tailstock because a cone center will keep piercing into the timber and splitting it open. It'll try and bust it open. You need to understand the way when bowls dry, and I've made a video on all of that. You can go and check that out after this one. I'll link it at the end. But for example, this bowl here, the end grain will rise, so to speak, and the side grain will lower. So the side grain will drop its shoulders and the end grain will stick its head up. So it makes for a very uneven surface. So hence the reason the last method that I want to show you, which I believe is the method that I like to use all the time, the Glenn Lucas method, the remounting plate, because of that exact reason. It gives space for the end grain to sit in whilst the side grain sits flat on the side. So it gives you a nice surface area of contact, or contact on the surface area contact, for a safe remounting method. But first up, the nested bowl method, mother bowl method. So I've got a chord bowl here. It has done the same, but not severely as much. It's just been air drying. It's been air drying for quite some time now, about a year here in Queensland, Australia. Beautiful, one day better than next. I've got a large mother bowl here on the lathe, ready to rock and roll. I've just got that remounted and I haven't taken it out of true. So it's still running just wild, the way it would have been when after it's dried. So you've got to take all that stuff into account. If you don't have a Glenn Lucas mounting plate or a large chuck or a large face plate, this would be the method I would use. Oh, I need to lubricate that. So you place the bowl inside the main bowl, the bowl that's had all the other little cores taken out of it, the mother bowl. And what I do, I like to just shimmy it around until I can feel that it's sitting roughly flat. So I need to go back. See, it's sitting flat there. See, it hasn't got much rock in it. And then I bring up my tailstock, but I don't lock it all the way off just yet. I lock the tailstock off, but then I just slowly wind the hand wheel up, and then I just slightly nip it into place, because what I want to see is how much out of round this is. See that there? It really wants to just swing up and over. So I'll put my thumb there, and that gives me an idea, because it allows me to get a little bit closer to the piece. And then I can see, right, I've got a huge gap there and it's touching here. Huge gap there, touching here. So we need to true it up. So it needs to shift towards you. I'm just going to lock this off. I'm not an octopus. I can't hold the wheel and turn things all at the same time and do heaps of stuff like my wife thinks I can. And then I'm just going to shift it over, just slightly touch. And the reason why I say slightly touch with the tailstock, with the cup center, is because if you keep poking huge holes in it, it'll just keep trying to, you know, when you've hit a nail in a hole and then you want to just move it to the right a couple of mil, and then you try and hit it in a different hole, it just goes back into the same hole. The reason why. So now we'll check it now, and we're a little bit better. So we're going to shift it over again, just a smidge, probably back to where we started. Yeah, that's looking there. Right there, I can already see that. This does take a little bit of time, but the reason why you want to do this is because it will save you timber in the long run. You know what, that's looking pretty good. It's got a little whoop-de-doo just there. And the reason why I also put my thumb here is because when I drag the bowl around it, I can feel, not only visually, but I can physically feel where the strongest point of it trying to push against my finger. So that'd be the most out of round point. I know I need to stop the lathe there and then shift it that way. I can feel it and I can see it. So it sort of acts like a secondary confirmation. That's beautiful. Let's lock that off now. Not that. Lock him off there. So I know what you're probably thinking. I can't turn that. I can't get all the way around to the top of the rim. And that's why the next method that I'll show you, you'll be able to turn the whole outside of the bowl. But whilst we're here, that there is one way of forming up the tenon at least, and then you can get going. You can take that off and then do a couple more. Then you've got a row of bowls that you've got with all the tenons formed, and then you can take the mother bowl off or true the mother bowl up and finish her off, and then work on the smaller ones. And I'm sure you've got a set of dividers at home. If you've got a bowl coring system, you've got a set of dividers. You can use your dividers like this, like so, but you have to come up over the top of your cup center, like so. You have to come around and over the top to mark it for your tenon. Or another option is to use this here. And this is an awesome piece of kit that Glenn Lucas sent to me. I'm not sponsored by him. I'm just showing you this other ways of doing things, and having that little feather in your cap will get you out of a jam when you're faced with different situations when you're turning. And the more you can understand and learn, I guess, and more that you see, you'll see something. You watch a whole video for 20 minutes or an hour. I've got videos that are an hour long, and you'll see that one thing and you'll go, that's brilliant. It wasn't a waste of time. I'm not saying that my videos are a waste of time, but you'll see that one thing and you'll just go, that's a beauty. This here is a tenon sizing indicator. It sits, I'll show you real quickly. I'm a strong believer in, if you want to find something, oh, that's definitely worth a whip, that one. Jeez. The grub screw little handle came out. So that there sits on your cup center, and then as you're turning, you can size up for your different tenons for your chucks that you've got. So let's move on to the next method. So the next method will allow you to accomplish turning the whole piece off. Now, I'm just going to leave the chuck on here because it makes life easier, but you can also use a faceplate for this. If you do use your faceplate, just be aware that you're gonna take about 60 mil off, a couple of inches, and then you might be coming a little bit too close to your headstock. So just weigh it up and see what works. But using your chuck, and one thing that I will do is expand the chuck jaws out as much as possible, and that will give you that greater surface area I was talking about. Bowl, same core as before. This is a beautiful piece of tallow wood. It's absolutely gorgeous material. They make dance floors out of this stuff because of its really good acoustics. Little side note there for you, little Kezza side note. Same thing again, lock that off, holding the bowl, and just put light pressure on there. Come around with your tool rest. And now what I like to do is visualize an eye down that piece. So eye down the front of the bowl, put my thumb here and then work it around, and I've absolutely bloody jagged that. And another reason I wanted to talk about before is I always core my bowls out an inch thick. If you haven't seen my other videos, please go check them out, and hopefully they'll help you out as well on your wood turning journey. Once I'm happy there, I then wind up that tailstock, and now be really certain you've got good pressure on that tailstock, and then lock it off. With this method, you can apply a bit of pressure to really jam and sandwich it all into the lathe, to lock it right off, so it's going to be nice and strong there, and it's not going to go anywhere. Right, I'm not going to stand on the lathe. I'm just going to show you that is not going to come off. Right, I'm moving that lathe. Right, so that is a sure way of you can shape up the outside real quick. Just take a little trim off to make it run true, and then come around and mark up your tenon with your dividers or the Glenn Lucas tenon sizing indicator that sits on your cup center. So that there is the chuck or faceplate method for remounting your bowls. So my favorite method is the Glenn Lucas remounting plate. And if you remember back to the start of the video where I said that the bowls will warp out of the shape, end grain will raise its head up and the side grain will drop its shoulders down. So you want a nice, flat, even surface area of contact on these two outer pads here. Side grain sits on the side on these rubber corrugated bits, and the end grain sits in the middle. And there is a video here on YouTube that Glenn Lucas has made about making one of these, and I highly suggest you go and do that. It takes, not even an hour. It's real quick. You just have to buy a bit of rubber. You've probably got heaps of ply laying around, and it doesn't need to be that thick there. It doesn't need to be that massive. Just use what you have. Just make sure it's got a bit of a gap there for the end grain to sit in. Once it's on there, get our bowl, just use the same one we had before. And now we eye it up. We find the end grain, bang, put the end grain in there on the rubber. Same thing as before, bring up the tailstock, lock him off. Don't put too much pressure on. Tool rest around, bring it around. Now I'm out around there. You can see I've got the gap there. And then I've got pressure on my finger there. So I need to shift the bowl towards you. Yet again, normally it's me who's at fault. Now you want to shift it a little, a bee's business. Micro movements have macro results. Oh God, that's another one. Kezza, will you behave yourself? Back towards me. Now it's my fault. It's no one's fault, right? It's just wood turning, calm down. Someone in the audience is there behind their keyboard. It's not blaming us. Righto, so that's looking absolutely beautiful. And now I will tighten it up and I'll show you. Let's windlass it all up here. Right, now that is looking beautiful. Running true, looking great. So if you've liked this video, I would really appreciate you give it that thumbs up down below. I don't normally ask, but I'm going to ask. And for those out there that aren't subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button for me. It means the world to me. And then it boosts this channel and it gives me more time to come out here and make these videos for you to try and help you out and for me to pass on my knowledge from everything that I'm learning along my wood turning journey to hopefully help you out along yours. That's the whole reason for this channel. I will link the video here of how to remount your bowls. There's 4 different ways you can remount your bowls on the lathe. And I'll also link a video here on how to rough out your bowls while they're on the lathe. So I really hope that helps you out along your wood turning journey. I will see you all and talk to you directly. Cheers, bye. You beauty.